So good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming in for our special meeting, I guess. We have just one agenda item, right, Colleen?
Correct.
Unless you've added anything since our
No.
email. Okay. So we have a issue, I guess, before us on the Ticketmaster item. Apparently you did get some feedback eventually, Michael?
Well, good morning, board members. Thank you for the time. Happy New Year to you all. I'll just have a brief presentation this morning. I appreciate the time to come back, talk about this in a little bit more detail. Just to recap, we were here in December, so on December 13, when we talked about this issue of the 2006 Ticketmaster agreement. At the time, there was a question presented about a legal opinion and research about what this will mean if we were to permit Eventbrite to continue to be used by TEDx in 2020. And so just to recap, you have permitted Eventbrite in 2015, 16, 17, and 18, and 19. So that's a 5-year history. And then in 2020, that would be year number 6. And we also talked last time we were through in December that we're right now in the process of doing a rather robust RFP process with the Fargo Dome together, the Civic and the Fargo Dome, on a ticketing RFP process that will result in the selection of a new vendor, potentially, that will govern both facilities. So change is definitely on the way. That new agreement will govern both facilities, and we're going to be all held to those terms. And so in shifting to the legal question, in my conversations with the Assistant City Attorney, as she said, it's very clear you're going in that direction. You're going to get a more updated agreement. It is going to speak with much greater specificity to these types of technologies. Your language right now from your 2006 Ticketmaster agreement is sufficiently vague that she felt that it really, again, doesn't contemplate this type of use. You've permitted the activity for 5+ years now. 2020 would be year number 6. And so she feels that if there have not been claims from Ticketmaster, from other vendors in the last several years, that she thought that that pattern is well established. And so she did not prepare a written memo. We had a very good phone conversation. I indicated to her that we're fully committed as the city to seeing this RFP process through, and whatever results from that is what we will hold ourselves to, both at the Fargo Dome and at the Civic. And we expect there's going to be, again, some much more detailed language about these types of ticketing vendors that are operating around the edges of these facilities. And again, the pattern is well established here. I think that her sense was that you haven't had claims yet. You're not likely to get one for 2020, and your immediate response is going to be that you're looking at a new agreement. So again, happy to answer any questions that you might have, but just know that we're fully committed as the city, not only to TEDx, but making sure that we are doing a new RFP process that's going to result in something for both facilities that will be a good fit long term. So that's our brief report today. Happy to answer any questions. And again, city's very supportive of TEDx. We're, as I said last time in December, they've been a great asset for downtown, for marketing, and to have them here. So I'll leave it at that. Happy to answer any questions.
So if I remember correctly, we had a recent complaint by the promoter, which is really what brought this to issue again. Is that right or not?
People involved with TEDx were here at the last meeting.
Okay.
Correct.
Kind of chastised.
And we tabled this at the last meeting?
We wanted to get a definitive opinion from the city
Okay.
attorney. We have not received that yet. So.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
With that, can we move to accept the ticketing organization that TEDx wants to use in their promotions and ticket sales of their next event here at the Civic?
So we have a motion then to allow them to proceed ahead with, is it Everbright or Evenbright?
Eventbrite.
Eventbrite. So your motion is to allow them to continue with Eventbrite again?
And circumvent Ticketmaster.
So it'll just be a one-time deal.
Well, actually, it'll be for 2020, and as Michael pointed out, there is an RFP being done right now, and likely that new agreement will be more specific as it relates to things like this. So we'll have to take this issue up again next year, and it might be a different outcome.
Mr. Chairman, and that new ticketing agreement is scheduled to take effect on January 1st of 2021.
Right. So 20 is in place for both the Dome and for here, really. So when this comes up again, we should know what that agreement looks like, and we'll be able to respond accordingly based on what that says. So really, this is for 2020 for the event for TEDx for 2020, which is still under the old agreement that we have with Ticketmaster.
Correct. And Mr. Chair, if I could, I would also add that I did have conversations with Emerging Prairie, the TEDx event sponsor. They're well aware of what we're doing with this RFP, and they know that this world will change. There will be new language, there will be new terms, everyone will be held to whether you're a dome renter or a civic renter. And so we had a very good conversation about that. They are well aware that if the board acts today in the affirmative, that it is 1 year and 1 year only for 2020.
Let me ask a question before there's a second and those types of things. If we allow this to happen and we don't have control of the money, and say the event is taking the money, managing the money, using the money to fund their operation, the event comes due and maybe there's a storm or something and it's canceled, and there's a claim for money, and the event sponsor who has the money doesn't have it, we don't have any money, who gets paid? How do they get paid? Is there something we should be thinking about? Maybe we need to have a larger deposit, or we need to take a look at this rather than just the fact, because I mean, look at the weather. Did anybody think that they weren't going to be having a good time New Year's Day? Or, I mean, it could be a tornado. I mean, just.
Could be. I think you just accept the same risk that you took the previous 5 years for this event. And if that happens, I think the language in the new contract, we try to lock that down, but we are where we are today, and this is a pretty big event for the Civic. If you watch social media and how well they portray the Civic, I think it'd be really sad if we didn't allow it to take place.
Well, Bruce, I have nothing to say bad about that. I'm just saying, maybe it's one of the smaller
Good point.
groups. I mean, a Boy Scout troop or something that's got a pancake deal, but we're out money, or there's a entertainment that's been brought in that expects to get paid.
Do we have any kind of an insurance policy against something like that?
No, and
We've
we
got a
don't
deposit, I
guarantee
believe.
any payment either in an event like this to any kind of act or promoter or, right? I mean, we're just out our rent and our ticket share that we would have had the event go forward, am I right?
Yeah, but then we're out, our other monies, if I, like, for a concert, let's say, I'm
Well,
out.
I'm just talking about this event,
This
because we're
event?
just really talking about this event. So if this event doesn't go through, are we negative? No, we're just not getting funds that we expected to get if the event moved
But
forward.
isn't that why we require deposits?
Well, if they cancel the event,
Yeah,
keep the deposit.
Yeah.
If it's an act
That's
of
what we do.
God type thing, then normally we've decided if we're gonna give the deposit back or let them reschedule at a later date.
Well, I just think we should maybe, kick this around and figure out what we're really doing here. And I agree, we want TEDx in the building, but it may not be TEDx that we're talking about down the road.
yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a first from Dan to allow TEDx to move forward with Eventbrite again this year, and a second from Jim. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign? So motion carried. So we can let them know then that they're good to go again for 2020.
Okay?
Okay?
I move we adjourn.
I will second that.
You can't do
I'll second it.
Okay.